Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a shopping mall. This mall has a bunch of different stores, a food court, and we also have a couple of stands in the courtyard. The mall has a jewelry store, a shoe store, an Apple store, a pet store, a clothing store. We also have a bookstore, a Lego store, and we have 3 different restaurants in the food court. A Subway, we have a KFC and a Burger King. We also have stuff like toilets and a warehouse and a bunch of parking outside. The list kind of goes on. By the way, if you saw where I was hiding in this intro, comment down below. Let me know where you think you saw me. The white concrete grid on the ground represents the amount of space required to make your build. I would recommend making the grid and marking out the starting position in your world if you are planning on building this amongst other builds, or if you just want it a specific way. Here are all of the materials that we will use for this part of the tutorial. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. Begin by placing a light grey concrete on top of the previously designated starting position, and then extend it to the right by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We then want to dig 3 rows in the ground going right, 1, 2, 3, and replace those with sea lanterns. Continue by placing a light grey concrete to the right, and then dig a row of 4 in the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, which we will also replace with sea lanterns. On the end of that, place a light grey concrete, and then dig a row of 3. 1, 2, 3, and once again, we'll replace that with sea lanterns. Next to the row of 3 sea lanterns, place 2 light grey concretes extending right, and now we want to extend backwards. So we're going to dig a row of 3 in the ground. 1, 2, 3. We're not going to replace that with anything, but we are going to continue extending backwards by placing 5 light grey concrete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we want to extend to the right and place 4 grey concrete. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then dig a row of 3 in the ground again. 1, 2, 3. And on the end of that, place a light grey concrete. We now want to extend the light grey concrete backwards by 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we want to dig in the ground and we want to dig to the right by 3. So to the right, but still towards the back of the build, of course. 1, 2, 3. Replace that with sea lanterns. Place a light grey concrete on the end and then dig a row of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Replace that with sea lanterns. Place a light grey concrete on the end, and one last time, dig a row of 3. 1, 2, 3. Place sea lanterns in there. Then, place a light grey concrete and extend it back by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What we then want to do is start extending across the back of the build, and to do that, we will place 22 light grey concretes extending right. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Place 4 white concrete on top of the 22nd block. 1, 2, 3, 4. Place a light grey concrete on top of the white. Extend the light grey concrete to the right by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we want to extend down to the ground using a row of white concrete with a light grey at the very bottom, and you should note that that actually extends and connects all the way to the front of the build. So let's just make sure that that does indeed connect to the front. I can already see that it does, and then we're just going to add a little bit of detail back here because it doesn't require too much. So we're going to add a row of light grey concrete along the inside of the empty space that we have created. So a row of light grey concrete on the left, right and top side. We just want to shrink that little space and extend it one row inwards, just like this. And then we're going to do a similar sort of thing again, except we're going to just fill this entire inside area one row behind the empty space that we've created. We want to fill it all in using stone stairs. And then on the sides, we will place sea lanterns just like this. And on top of these stone stairs, I do believe that we will be placing a row of quartz bricks a little bit later on, but it's okay for us to just have this right now. So that is basically just a warehouse entrance, which will make sense as we will be placing a lorry somewhere around the mall. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, once you have completed that, this is the general sort of floor layout that we're looking at. Quite a simple shape. With the groundwork laid out, ladies and gentlemen, we are now able to move on to the next part. We will be adding details to the mold that will allow us to build up the actual structure. Here's what I mean. So the first thing that we want to do is on top of these sea lanterns that we placed for the foundation, we want to stack 4 rows of glass blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So a row of 4 glass on top of every single row of sea lanterns that we have placed. And this does get ever so slightly more complicated on top of one particular set of sea lanterns, but we are just going to start off with some windows. These are windows on the ground floor, so that's perfect. There's not too many areas where we have to do this. Well, what we then want to do once we have these windows is on top of the back window here and the equivalent one on the front, we want to stack a row of white concrete, and then we want to place a row of 5 glass. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. So we want to do this on the back window on the right side and the most left window on the front side. So white concrete, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like this. That's perfect. So what we then want to do, on the front left corner of the build, we want to place 4 white concrete. 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to place a light grey concrete, and then 4 more white concrete. 1, 2, 3, 4. The white concrete you can extend all the way over to the right, it will connect to the glass, and then we want to continue through the glass, place a white concrete, extend up 1, extend to the right, and the idea is to connect down to this part. So we want to have a shape on the front of the mall that looks exactly like this. And we are also going to extend this row, just this row of light grey concrete here, we are going to extend across, and believe it or not, that is a huge chunk of the mall made, or at least this particular face of it. We want to do the exact same thing on the right side, so on the right side over here, we'll start on this back right corner, because that's kind of like the equivalent. We want to place a row of 4 white concrete, 1, 2, 3, 4, a row of light grey concrete on top, and then 4 more, 1, 2, 3, 4. White concrete, extend towards the front of the build, and then through the glass we place a white, up, and then we extend forwards and join it down to the corner on the front of the build, just like this. Then we're going to place a row of light grey concrete extending from the row of light grey just in the middle of the build. We'll extend it forwards. It kind of looks like the number 3, and that is absolutely perfect. That's what we want to have. Well, the back of the build is very similar actually. So on the back of the build, so the back and the left side, I count that as like the back of the build because it's kind of like the non-facing part of the mall. Well, we want to just extend the row of light grey concrete through from the middle of the mall. So we just want to have that horizontal row of light grey concrete, and then we want to have a row of white concrete that extends from the upper corners. So we want to take the very top of them all on the front left corner and the back right corner, and we just want to join it together at a right angle. So just like this. And believe it or not, it doesn't get too much more complicated than that. Something that we can do, however, as well, is we can take this white concrete here that connects to this glass. We want to extend this white concrete across, like this, right? And the goal is to, first of all, we can literally just cut like this back area off, but we also want to take the white concrete that connects to the glass on the front of the build, and we want to extend it backwards. So we will end up with something that should look like this. So that's how the roof is like segmented a little bit. Then we can continue extending a row of white concrete through, and it can join to the back like so. And then we want to have 2 rows of glass extending from the right side, extending left inside this little box, with a row of white concrete on the opposite side of the glass. We then want to have a row of 3 glass starting from the back, 1, 2, 3, white concrete, 1, 2, 3, like this. And then we want to simply just extend all of the white concrete and all of the glass forwards. So the important part about all of this is that is pretty much the roof section complete, as we either fill the rest of the roof in with glass or we fill it in with white concrete, which we will be doing later. But you may have noticed in completing all of that, we have a huge amount of the structure complete. We now have to move on to one of the more complex parts of this tutorial. So, the entrance. It's actually not that complicated, just in comparison to everything else. For the entrance area, first of all, we are going to, on top of the light grey concrete that we have at this 90-degree angle right here, we want to stack 4 rows of white concrete. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are just going to stack the white concrete like this, directly on top of the light grey. Then we are going to extend the top 2 rows of the white concrete forwards and to the right, basically just outwards, and that will create the entrances. The entrances to the mall are rather simple. We will have glass along the inside of the door frame, with glass pane along the inside of the glass, with end rods suspended in front of the middle row of the glass pane. Easy. We also want to have a little plant feature, so if we just place, this might be a good place to hide a light actually, a 2x2 square of sea lanterns directly in the corner in between the 2 entrances, outlined with terracotta. That is where we will have a little plant, but we can place that a little bit later on. We're now going to grab smooth quartz slabs, and we want to place smooth quartz slabs extending outwards from this white concrete. So the white concrete in question is the top row of white concrete that we placed above the entrance that connects to the frame, but it's here, and we want to place 1, 2 smooth quartz slabs extending outwards, and 1, 2. So on both sides like this, right? And then we want to place light grey concrete on the ends of these slabs, and then continue by placing another 1, 2, 1, 2 smooth quartz slabs. We then want to extend each slab inwards, and then 1 in the corner, and that will give us this shape. And what we will then do is extend the light grey concrete, the light grey concrete down, like this. That's perfect. And we also want to extend the light grey concrete up by 3, so 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. We're going to fill the center of this in using smooth quartz slabs, like so, because this is kind of like a little ceiling portion. It just looks a little bit better filled in just like this. And we also want to install glass behind all of this as well. So we want to have glass, basically. If we start off by placing glass at a right angle, kind of like in the corner like this, and if we extend the glass upwards, so there is 1 row below the very top of the white concrete, just like this, and we just want to place the 2 rows of glass just on each side, just like so. That is perfect. What we then want to do is we also want to place a row of smooth quartz slabs that sits above the light grey concrete, like this. It sits directly above the light grey concrete and follows the same line as the smooth quartz slabs just below it, like so. We also have to place some glass behind this area too, so the glass we want to place kind of like this. It wants to sit inside of the outside shape of the smooth quartz slabs. It's difficult to explain, but you can kind of see. We basically just want to place glass in such a way that it just always sits one row inside of the slabs, and the glass can extend upwards like this. It probably doesn't have to go any higher than just touching the quartz slabs. And then I don't know what is better. So these are our options. We can fill the top of this in, right, using glass like this and just leave it. Or you could fill the entire top of it in using quartz slabs, but I prefer it open. I think it looks a little bit better. And anyway, in doing this, the glass is basically going to... This is where the roof line is. So the top of the glass that we placed in the 90-degree angle, as I said, this is like where the roof line is. So that will just extend out and connect. The top of the roof will be glass, as will this left portion, as will that back left portion, it already is. And that back right portion there, that is going to be white concrete. With a good amount of the structure complete, I think it's now important for us to work on the outside of the mall a little bit. So, the first thing that we are going to do is stack a couple of rows of leaves on top of the sea lanterns that we placed in this corner earlier. And then from here, we want to create a curved entrance area in the ground. So we're going to dig from each one of the two corners of the inside entrance area of the mall. We're going to dig in the ground up to these light grey concrete pillars, and then 3 rows beyond them. 1, 2, 3. And we want to do the same thing on this opposite side. So dig to the pillar, 3 rows beyond it, and then we want to dig inwards and then join in the corner. So this will make a curved shape, which we want to fill in using light grey concrete. The rest of this little surrounding area and the entire floor for the inside of the mall will be filled in using quartz bricks, but that's something that we can focus on a bit later. Something that we do want to focus on right now is a path that will lead around the outside of the mall. So despite the fact that the actual mall itself, the only entrance is on this one corner, there's not really a reason to explore any more of the mall. However, despite this, we are going to have a 2-row wide stone path, smooth stone specifically, that goes all the way around the outside of the mall. And we want to have it in such a way that it kind of like remains unbroken, starting from this back right corner, and we might even have one that comes along the back a bit, but the more important part is the fact that we are able to walk on it and get into the actual entrance. So that will actually be a square. Now that we have placed the outline of the outer path of the mall, this allows us to place some of the other details because we can use it as a guide. So what we want to do, for instance, is on this front corner here coming towards the front of the build, we want to leave a gap of 1 in the ground and then place a white concrete. Gap of 1, white concrete. Gap of 1, smooth stone. And the smooth stone wants to extend across the front of the grid here, like this, in both directions. So the smooth stone wants to extend all the way to the left and all the way to the right. And the goal is for us to have, it's almost 3 rows of smooth stone, but you'll see why it actually is in a second. So these first 3 rows will majoritively be smooth stone, and if we can just dig this out and create a really long rectangle, we're going to leave the middle part of it empty. Specifically, I'm building this up, but it's actually it's not a big deal actually, but what we do want to have, because it does just add a nice little bit of detail and it helps to break up some of the more grey colours around the build. So on the right side, if we start inside of the middle of the smooth stone, we want to have the middle row, it wants to be 1, 2, 3 rows of smooth stone like this, and then an azalea on the end. And then we want to leave a gap of 1, 2, 3, azalea, 1, 2, 3, azalea, so on and so forth. and we will fill around these in using smooth stone, but we'll do that a little bit later. But as I said, the azaleas help to break up the entire area a little bit, and it works out to be because on the very end here, like, we have a row of 4, whereas everywhere else is like a row of 3, like in between all of the azaleas. At the very end, this will be turned into a wall, which I suppose we can actually make some of. There is a terracotta wall that sits all along the very left side of the mall, and it extends across the back. It doesn't really go anywhere else, although it could. It completely depends upon the structure of your build. It really is completely up to you, but we'll build up the wall a little bit later on, but I just kind of wanted to showcase right now what we've accomplished, and it looks pretty cool. At least, I think it does anyway. So, what we want to do from here is we want to make a little bit of a car park. So starting from the same front corner of the smooth stone that we placed earlier, we want to leave a gap of 3, 1, 2, 3, and we can fill this in using grey concrete. But more importantly, we then want to dig to the outer boundary of the build, fill this area in with smooth stone, and then the 2 rows behind it like this, just like so. And this is going to house a sign. The sign will be made using diorite wool. We'll place diorite wool in the middle row, leaving a gap of 1 from either side, with red concrete above the wall, stacked up to be a row of 2, and the sign, actually we won't expand the sign out, so we'll just literally have a row of 4 extending from one wall to the other like this. It'll be double high, and we will write more on that a little bit later on. So this area is important as well because we can, from literally the same length of the smooth stone area, also doubles as car parking spaces. You can leave gaps of 3, 1, 2, 3 like this, and then you can mark out rows of white concrete. And these white concrete rows, like if we were to fill these in using grey concrete sided with the white concrete, then that would be, for instance, 1 car parking space. And we just leave gaps of 3 in the ground, as I mentioned, and it actually pleasingly works out to be that the last car parking space lines up here with the back of the mall. And we are also going to have 2 rows of smooth stone just along the back of the mall like this. So the smooth stone is going to be placed in such a way that it doesn't interfere with this. So this is going to be grey concrete just behind this garage door, and we are pretty much just going to have the entire grass areas here along the left and back side. These are going to be ripped up and replaced with grey concrete, and as I mentioned, we'll be placing a lorry here at some point in time. I might have to design and make another lorry because it's been a while since I've done one, and all we have to do from this point is just rip up the grass, replace it with different materials, fix the wall, and we simply just have to fill the actual walls of the mall in as well, and make some signs. So, making signs. This is really, really simple. It's a 4-letter word and we only need to make 3 letters. Let's do it. I think even I can manage this. Let's throw a loom down on the ground, open it up, and place a white banner in there with some black dye. The first letter is the most complicated, it's M. We want to place the triangle at the top of the banner. Throw the black dye out, put white dye in, and then we want to place the 3 little triangle pattern. For those of you that are interested, inverted chevron and chief indented. Grab that, put that back in, and place black dye in there instead. We then want a vertical row of black on the left, and then the right. That is the letter M. Next will be A, so a vertical row of black on the left, on the right, horizontal on top, and straight through the middle. Last but not least is L. We can reuse this letter. Vertical row of black on the left, horizontal along the bottom. As I said, we will be able to reuse this, so there's no need to make another one because we're in creative. And all we have to do is place M, A, L, L here on this sign. Absolutely perfect. We will also be reusing this sign 2 more times on the front of the mall and just on the right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have hit a pivotal point in this tutorial. This is great news. All we have to do now is just fill a bunch of stuff in. It's really simple, and I will show you via this wonderful timeline. First of all, we want to fill the main walls of the mall in using white concrete. Also, whilst we're at it, we also want to fill the main entrance floor in using quartz bricks. Once that has been complete, we are going to fill the top wall in, aka the roof. We're going to use a mixture of white concrete and glass. The back right hand corner of the roof, the large long rectangle, that will be filled in with white concrete. Everywhere else will be filled in using glass block. Once that has been complete, we are able to dig out some of the surrounding area. Replace inside of these smooth stone areas with smooth stone. Then we have to do two things. First of all, we have to expand the white concrete areas appropriately. So the two white concretes that we have on the front of the mall, we want to extend to be 3 rows long in total. These will act as a crossing. All of the other white concretes that we placed to act as car parking spot separators, we simply want to extend those to the outer boundary. Once the smooth stone area and the white concrete areas have been taken care of, the entire rest of the grass can be ripped up and replaced with grey concrete. Once that has been complete, we will then raise up the wall. We have a large terracotta wall surrounding half of the mall. This wants to be 3 rows high. That's all we do with the wall. Once that has been complete, the next and possibly last thing that we have to do is add 2 more mall signs. One on the front and one on the right side of the build. You can see the positions. And once that has been complete, we are complete. And that is that, ladies and gentlemen. Part 1 of the mall has been completed. Do remember that there will be 2 more parts, which you will be able to find in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed this. Please do remember to like and subscribe. Click that little bell next to the subscription button. That'll ensure that you get all my videos sent directly to your sub box. And I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.